You've got so many people talking about these Kai Cenat Streamer University scandals and controversies right now. And it makes sense because one, you're talking about one of the biggest streamers in the world doing this massive event, all these different feeds kind of feeding one another. From that too, you have all these narratives and storylines, some seemingly manufactured and others just kind of a byproduct of the current state of the internet. But then also, while they are connected in a way to all this, in a way that we're gonna get to, they do end up overshadowing some of the very, very concerning things that are becoming even more common day by day. I mean, you just had a YouTuber in South Korea getting stabbed multiple times by one of his subscribers in broad daylight. And the why they did that was apparently because he made a bad call on the stock market. The attacker apparently tracking this influencer down after losing money after following his advice on some investments. And he had to take it about 2 hours for the police to catch them, and you have the police still investigating to kind of get more details on the whole situation. And while luckily, this YouTuber didn't suffer any life-threatening injuries, all of this speaks to something bigger than just the attack. One of the big things that we've seen more and more online is that you have normies and aspiring finance bros putting a lot of trust into investment content creators. Where you've got countless people all over the place thinking they're getting tried and true advice. But when the investments they make on that advice backfire, it can be a complete disaster. I mean, investments are already risky by nature. I talked about it in the last video. And one of the big recent examples is at its peak this year. You had the Kospi being the world's 6th largest stock market. And earlier this year, they hit record highs as retail investors took on extra leverage to buy ETFs links to Samsung, Electronics, and SK Hynix. But the key thing is that the market has also been very unpredictable. And you had people saying leverage did not create the semiconductor correction, but it gave the market a steeper staircase, removed the handrail, and invited everyone to run. And that is exactly what you saw happen to younger retail investors when Kospi took a plunge, leaving people like the attacker, who also reportedly was in his 20s, taking the brunt of the losses. In fact, traders in their 20s and 30s, they made up 60% of the over 300,000 recent forced liquidations. It's for everyone, but especially if you are a young investor working with an already unpredictable market, it's basically like playing with fire to make money moves based off of random influencers' advice. Because already in general, but especially on the internet, it's so hard to know who's a legitimate financial expert and who's just a random fucker with a camera and a lot of followers. And actually, that's a big part of the stabbing case as well. It raises bigger questions about the parasocial relationship that we see growing between influencers and their followers. Right? As an influencer in any niche, building trust with your online community, it's very important. And one of the main ways that you see these finance influencers or influencers doing that is through what researchers call message concreteness. In other words, they have to sound confident in whatever they say, whether they're actually sure about their advice or not. Right? How else do you get people to subscribe in a very saturated market? And by no means is it limited there, right? You see influencers all over the place using that tactic. Even creators running news-based channels like mine do it. But also I'll say one of the key differences is that news often requires, at least if done well, for you to pull sources, video clips, cold, hard evidence to back up whatever's being said. And for creators who want to stand out with something as unpredictable as the stock market, a lot of them end up just leaning on their predictions, which basically means it is just a matter of time. It is going to be inevitable that you make a wrong call, a bad call. With the average subscriber, they might not see that coming. And what you end up seeing, and the researchers back this up, is that even if someone does not have evidence to back up their advice, for a lot of people, the fact that they have a big following, that's all the advice they need. But if someone has hundreds of thousands or millions of followers, I mean, they can't all be wrong, right? People call it social proof. So you end up seeing it for a lot of people, there's this broken belief that because something is getting a lot of engagement, that must mean it's trustworthy. You start thinking that a lot of these influencers are experts. And that, I will say, among other reasons, is why you see a lot of online finance bros making disclaimers that, their content, it's not meant to be taken as official financial advice. You even have some state financial departments making advisories about it, saying that it's entertainment for the masses, not individual advice. And while you do see that there are some measures in place to kind of regulate this kind of content with those quick disclaimers, there's not a whole lot that anyone can really do about the people who still decide to take online content as the end-all be-all for investment moves. And then what you see make this even more complicated is that the longer someone subscribes to one of these creators, the more they engage online or start relying on them to make real-world decisions, the more it creates what researchers call perceived closeness. Or in other words, followers, they add a creator, their daily doom scroll, and then their content goes quickly from public to personal. And that, well, not the end-all be-all, ends up being part of the equation that gets you to a point where someone tracks you down with a personal vendetta after a post, right? And then all of that, it speaks to how chaotic our online culture has become. You've got this merging of parasocial relationships and then also the economics that inspire and encourage just chaos, right? Some of it real and some of it manufactured. And that brings us back to Kai Cenat Streamer University. And even if you've only paid a little attention, there are like a number of through-line stories, things happening, right? You've had some moments where it seems like the fight for views and engagement, it's led to some potentially tense exchanges, though you also have people saying it's teeter between the line of what's real and what's fake. Then also had things like a viral moment last week where one of Cenat's students, Suki Mello, had a pretty off-putting reaction to both him and another streamer.
Dear Kai Cenat! My name is Suki Mello, and I'm a pretty odd fellow. At least that's what they say. Give me a head pat, master.
What the? No. Don't call me master.
Oh.
Don't call me master.
Senpai Kai.
Okay.
Senpai.
Okay, listen, I seen your video.
Yes?
On stalking Jason.
I'm looking for senpai. I'm trying to feed senpai.
You're trying to feed who?
It's my senpai.
Jason the Ween. I'm trying to feed Jason the Ween.
Also, seemingly in the pursuit of clips, there was another student who kind of just took the gift-giving thing to a different level.
People, you know, you do so much for people, and people don't ever do anything for you. Oh. So this is, you know, humble beginning.
I can open it?
Absolutely open it. And also, here's the
Jordan. Is this
so that you could take care of it.
Is this a rat?
I have to remind you where you came from, Kai.
But then on top of all that, one of the things that blew up, it's connected to kind of the monetization of misinformation. You've got millions and millions of people watching the streams live. You also have millions and millions of people watching the clips, with many clips either being shared with incorrect context or just being completely different than what actually transpires in the video you're meant to watch, but some people don't. They just kind of like watch it play on like quiet B-roll. And connected to that, you had rumors and then people just making statements saying that Cenat was forcing the women there to wear miniskirts. You're talking about even just that single post getting millions and millions of views, and there was seemingly no evidence to back it up, but people just kind of ate it up. And in fact, it looks completely untrue. The people there, they had a choice of outfit, right? There were multiple uniform options, but it seemingly didn't matter. The court of public opinion, it just started rolling with it. You had some comparing him to Diddy, calling him weird, saying he whored everybody out. And again, well, this is not a commentary on any of his other controversies, scandals, or things going on, or even that with anyone else. With this specific situation, it shows us, again, misinformation spreading like wildfire. And of course, why wouldn't it when you have this perfect storm of parasocial behaviors along with the monetization of scandal and controversy, even if it is a thing that did not happen. And overall, while it's not uniform, right? These are different situations that affect people in different ways. It does feel like both for creator and audiences, things are getting more dangerous than ever. And at a time where it does feel like it is harder than ever to immediately know what is true or not. You also have things moving faster and more extreme than ever. But hey, let me know your thoughts and reactions in those comments. Like and subscribe if you like these bonus dives into the news in addition to the show. And also, if you haven't already, be sure to check out today's full new Philip DeFranco show where we covered a lot. We got the crazy stuff that a lot of people are missing around Andrew Tate and his brother getting arrested in Florida. We break down just how much the Odyssey slapped a bunch of culture warriors in the back of the head. We talk about this mom who killed a man that she found hiding under her 13-year-old daughter's bed, and she's now charged with murder.